Let me ask you this question. Have you ever wanted to be a hero? I mean, I think a lot of us, especially when we were little, like those of us are boys, we want to be a superhero when we were little, but we hopefully grow out of that. But I mean, have you ever thought, like, there are real heroes still in this world, right? Have you ever wanted to be one of them? Have you ever wanted to be a hero? I started thinking about that question. I think all of us at some level want to do something heroic with our life or during our life. And I started thinking through this. What is it that all heroes have in common? I think I've distilled it down to heroes all have one trait that they have in common. And I'm going to tell you what it is later. But here's what I believe. I also believe that all of us can be heroes. I think we can be heroes when we do things like participate in Love 928. Love 928 is this exciting opportunity. And people have been asking me the last couple of weeks, have been talking about, what is this? Well, Love 928 comes from, that's the area code in which Flagstaff in northern Arizona is. Some people have not picked up on that, so that's okay. We'll start with that. That's where we got the name. But what it is it's an event. It's a 2-day event in which we are trying to unleash an army of good across northern Arizona. This year it's September 28th and 29th. It's grown. It's beyond what we can do on one day. So it's Saturday morning, Sunday morning. We're going to go, all of us, to locations, around 40 different locations around northern Arizona to do work, to do projects, to be heroes in those places. And we're going to help families. We're going to help organizations, schools in our community. You can sign up for one day. You can sign up for both days. And here's really, I think, kind of a fun piece of this, that because it's on this whole weekend, we're not going to do worship services like we normally do on Saturday evenings and Sunday mornings. But if this is the only time you can really come, we're going to have a group of people here that can help you do some sort of project that will be do good in our community. So even if you show up on Saturday at 5:30, like this time right here, it won't be what we're doing now, but you're going to be able to participate in Love 928 even then. We're serving in 11 schools, the home of foster parents, shelters, ministries that help homeless, hungry people. A new Christian counseling center that's just begun here in Flagstaff. We're going to serve there. 2 retirement and care homes. Some people can't get enough of Love 928, and we have a spot for you. If that's you, you're like, I want to do like not just Saturday morning. I don't want to just do Sunday morning. Like I don't want to do the whole weekend, Chris. I want to do all of it. Well, we got a group going to Prescott at United Christian Youth Camp, where our middle school and our grade school kids do their summer camp experience. And you can work there. You don't even have to sleep. You can just work the whole night. They'll let you. They won't make you do that. But if you want so much of this that you can't even think about like going home, just go to Prescott, join that crew. We're going to Hope Pregnancy Center, Indian Bible College. We have 2 locations in Williams. So if you live in Williams or in that vicinity, or you just want to leave town, you want to go to Williams for the day, we can serve there. So many places. You can register online. These are some pictures of past events. You kind of see what it looks like. People they're serving, and all these people are smiling because they're heroes. You can go online, you can sign up. Over 100 people signed up last weekend. So if you're like doing Labor Day stuff and you didn't sign up, you got to get on this because it's going to fill up. Love 928 is an event. But I also want you to understand that it is also a mindset. Love 928 is a mindset, not just an event. And I would say it's just in that short phrase, the best way to describe our strategy as a church, as a group of people together to bring change to northern Arizona. Some of the heroes of Love 928 are obviously going to be all of us who serve in the projects that day. There's another group that's already serving. There's a volunteer leadership team of several people who have been spending tons of time leading up to this month. Getting team captains, that's another group of heroes in this. The team captains, the location captains, are visiting each site. They're making assessments of what can be done, what can't be done, what supplies do we need, what type of skills are needed on each team. They're going to lead the effort on those particular mornings. Those are heroes. They're already showing up and doing things and making it happen. See, this volunteer leadership team, these team captains, they're doing so much of the prep work so that the rest of us can show up and just do what needs to be done. It's so easy. It's a great opportunity. But it is also a mindset. See, that's what Love 928 is. It is an event. It's a mindset that's permeating everything we do. But you have to be crystal clear and understand why we do this. It's so important. And I think the most clear, direct way to explain why we love 928 is to just remind us of words of Jesus that we talk about so often here together. As he said in front of one of his best friends and the eyewitness John, who wrote in his biography of Jesus this statement from Jesus. He says, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, my followers." You're saying, how will people know who follows me? It'll be the people who show love to each other. We love 928. We do all of these things because Jesus himself said it was the way that we can let everyone know about him. When we get so confused sometimes in our lives that we have to know everything and how we talk about Jesus, and it really just comes down to, can we show love to each other? Can we show love to our world, to our community? That's why we love 928. Not just the event, of course the event, but the mindset. It's because of what Jesus said, to let everyone know about him. In the ancient Hebrew scriptures that are part of our Christian Bible, you find so many amazing stories of men and women who live out these values, even those who came before Jesus. One story, I don't know if you've heard this story, you're familiar with it, it's the story of Ruth and Naomi. I love those names. We should bring those back more. This story, it's great. It starts with a family. It's a family in Bethlehem, actually the city where later, many years later, Jesus will be born, where Christmas begins. It's an awesome place, Bethlehem. And during a time of crisis, of famine, a family there moves to another country. They move to another place. They actually become refugees, displaced, and they go to another place to find prosperity, to find a place to live. The husband of this family dies, and he's left his wife, Naomi, with 2 sons. You read the story of Ruth in the Bible, in those ancient Hebrew writings, you can see all of these details. Those sons marry 2 local girls, 2 women from Moab, Moabite women who are a different ethnicity, a different religion. One of the girls is named Ruth. The other is named Orpah, which is also a cool name. If you have future children or grandchildren, name them Orpah. I think that's awesome. Name for a young lady. See, after a period of time though, both of Naomi's sons pass away as well. They also die. The story isn't a happy story at the beginning. It's tragedy. And so here's Naomi. She has 2 daughter-in-laws. She's been in this country for about a decade, and she decides it's time for her to go back to Bethlehem, back to her family, to her people, where her religion is the norm and her culture is familiar. And she tells Ruth and Orpah, you need to stay here. You're not even, you don't even worship the same God I worship, and you have your own families. Find new husbands. Start over. I'm just going to go and start over myself in some level. And both Orpah and Ruth want to stick with Naomi. And she pushes hard, and Orpah actually relents and decides to stay behind. But look at what Ruth says to her mother-in-law. Says what Naomi says first, look, your sister-in-law is going back to her people and her gods. Go back with her. And Ruth replied, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people. Your God, my God. And she says, this is so amazing. Where you die, I will die. And there I will be buried. May the Lord, Jehovah, Yahweh. She's taking on the name. She's claiming that now Naomi's God is her God. That wasn't the case before. She says, may Yahweh deal with me, be it ever so severely, if even death separates us, you and me. When Naomi realized that Ruth was determined, which is the biblical word for determined, she's not going anywhere. She says she stopped urging her. Can you imagine you and your in-laws having this type of relationship? I think that we always tell this story, and I talk about it many times. Ruth is a hero. She's absolutely a hero to a vulnerable Naomi. And God truly gave them each other in their grief and in their loss. But I often wonder, too, this other layer. How in the world was Naomi so good to her daughter-in-laws that they didn't want to stay in their homeland with their home religion? They wanted to stay with her. Naomi is probably the world's greatest mother-in-law in the history of mother-in-laws, right? I have an amazing mother-in-law because we're recording this. She's awesome. I have great in-laws. And actually someday, probably not that far away in life, I'm going to be someone's in-law, and that's scary. And I want to be one like Naomi. I want to be the kind of person where we find a Ruth nearby. And I want to be a Ruth for people who are vulnerable, for people who are widowed and childless, whether they're my mother-in-law or they're just somebody in need. We need more heroes like Ruth. Jesus is calling us to be like Ruth, to go above and beyond. She didn't have to stay with Naomi. And God uses that dedication and commitment to write a beautiful story that you can read in that text named after Ruth in your Bible. Jesus is calling you and I believe, to be like Ruth, to be a hero, to go above and beyond for the vulnerable in our community. And I want to share with you 3 very important, very big ways in which we're feeling called to do that together in this church, ways that you and I want to become heroes to the vulnerable. And the first is that we feel that our current campus, our current church facilities and properties, that we need to shift to becoming more of a community center. Here's what I mean by that. Our leadership team has been working for a very long time, for many months, a couple of years now, on our campus master plan, and we've really been trying to seek out what is the best use of the rest of our facilities and future expansion in buildings. And we've come to the conclusion, we made the decision that we need to build not a church building, we need a bigger space for like this event and worship and this service. We still have room. All 3 of our other services are filling up. And it's time to really decide what that looks like. And the decision we made is we're not building just a place for us to do more worship or to have more people, but to build first for our community and what they need. So that where we do worship is also available and affordable for the other nonprofits and organizations in town. We feel strongly that our community and our partners and partners that we don't deal with yet, but that potential partners need more space. They need resources. They need affordable space. And we feel like God's calling us to provide that. I talked about last week, if you were here, the story of Daniel. And one of the lessons of the story of Daniel is that when the context changes, when the culture around you changes, you have to change your methods. Daniel never changed his core values or really the message of what he believed in, but he changed the method in which he interacted with the world around him. When it changed, when his context changed. Friends, we live in a world that's changed. Our context that we find ourselves in as followers of Jesus is so different than it just was a few years ago. So we've decided to not build just what we need. Here's some pictures of where our thinking's moving and going. And this just to give you some, like what this is that blue corner box. You guys see that at the bottom right? Everybody see the blue? That's where you're sitting. You're in the blue box right now. That green, lime green, that's a beautiful color that was chosen for this. That's our office building. And all this white space is where we feel God is calling us to build an event center, a community center, and space. It's 2-story. There's a basement underneath it. This next picture shows you even some of that evolution of how that's developing. It actually got bigger because that's what architects do, is they keep drawing bigger things. And that means it's going to cost more money, but it's really important, these changes. We added more bathrooms. We added industrial or commercial kitchen. So that if you're going to have events, and our partners said, we need help with those types of things. We're starting a tour this week of over 50 different nonprofits for our community coming together and saying, this is what we're thinking about. What can we do to make it more useful for you? We're doing that in conjunction with our development company. Here's some other more artistic pictures of this lobby space where our baptistry will be inside that lobby is what we think. And then another view here. And just an amazing space to do what God's called us to do, but to partner with others. This last one is kind of this anchor corner, this destination spot that will face our neighbors and our community in this beautiful place that we were just like, that's so awesome. The view of the peaks and the Mount Eldon and that fireplace, already it like feels warm just looking at it to me. I've spent a lot of time staring at this picture, imagining drinking coffee, sitting there just like talking to God about this city and people being able to do that, and this tool in which we want to help the rest of our community who are both vulnerable, but who are also like Ruth, who want to serve the vulnerable. This building has a basement space, thousands of square feet, that we want to dedicate for other nonprofits to use. Maybe even to start, like maybe an incubator where they begin. We've talked about things, and we're making plans like, what if 50 nonprofits were 25% better? Because they had a free space to meet or to do an event or do their own fundraisers and their activities. How could they be more effective? And these are the dreams that God's put in front of us because we live in a place where we're surrounded by people who are vulnerable. Just like Naomi. And the Ruths of this community, many of us are trying to be heroes and help, and many other people who aren't even a part of what Jesus is doing are also like Ruth, trying to help the vulnerable, and we want to connect with both. And we feel this is an opportunity to do it. That those who are serving and those who are being served will both be interested in Jesus through these efforts. So you are a church. You're not part of a church. You're not like unless you're just like cruising through here for a moment. But those of you who are part of this church, you're the church. And you are a church that's always been about, from the very beginning, now 35 years, almost, nearly 35 years. And we've always been about helping people find and follow Jesus. And that's not changing. And our message isn't changing, but we've got to change our methods. And we feel like we have space, and we're going to have future space to help meet the needs of our community. And we live in a time that I believe that once we help meet more physical and emotional needs of the people around us, we'll get the privilege to also introduce them to Jesus, who meets their spiritual need. That's the first way we feel we can help the vulnerable around us. The second way we want to be available to the vulnerable is our continued commitment to foster care and foster families. Just in a few days, in a little over a week, on Tuesday, September 17th, AZ 127 is our partner. It's a collaboration of churches and organizations all over Arizona. And the local Arizona 127 community here in Flagstaff, we're very connected to and a part of. They're hosting here in our building. We're going to host a meeting on that Tuesday night. You see it here, the time. It's, as it says at the bottom, a time to find your place in foster care. There are many of us who I think God is calling to be foster parents, and many of us to support them. And we're not all called to the same things. And this night, coming up on the 17th, is just your opportunity. This meeting will help you understand all the ways in which we can help care for the vulnerable children in our area. They're so vulnerable. These kids need help. They need loving homes. And we can be a part of that in some way. And we're making progress. This collaboration and others like it, we're making progress. The differences are being made. But we have to continue to be committed and support this effort. We're not slowing this down. It's going even further as fast as we can. So I hope you'll make plans for that. You'll check that out. There's another group we feel very called to care for. And those are our university and college students. They're literally a vulnerable group. I don't know if you know this, and some of you might remember the 80s. I remember parts of them. But back in the 1980s, if a student on campus in a university anywhere across the country, 1 in 10 of those students were characterized as needing, wanting, or using some form of mental health services and treatment. 1 in 10. And I would love to have a contest so you could guess the number today. It's quite different than 1 in 10. And a large part of that difference is truly that the stigma of receiving mental health is changing, and it needed to change, and that's a great change. But it's also changed because people at a younger age are dealing with more and more issues. It's now actually 1 in 3. That across our country, and this is true at NAU, this is true at private universities and small universities, at Christian universities, at public universities, giant universities, that 1 in 3 students need or are seeking help from a mental health professional on their campus. The stats are staggering. Just one, National Institute of Mental Health has shown that in 2006, that 7.9% of students across the country on every campus, all the campuses, had a major depressive disorder. I won't bore you with what that means. It means it's bad. 7.9% in 2006. In 10 years, 2016, the number grew nearly 50% to 12.8% of students, young adults, on a campus studying for their future are struggling with a major depressive disorder, diagnosed. Those students are on our campus. And what that means, if the number is still 12.8, and it's not, but we'll just use that from 2016, that means that on campus at NEU right now are 2,560 students with major depression or other serious diagnosed issues. College students in Flagstaff create traffic. Long lines at Target. They're a nuisance at some of my favorite fast food places. Have you been to Panda Express lately? It's an hour wait to get orange chicken. And they're struggling. These same students can be a nuisance in your mind, or they can be a mission field in your heart. And friends, we have to continue to make that shift because that's always been the posture of our church. It's always been the posture. We're going to serve students when they show up here. I was speaking recently with a faculty member, professor at NAU, who's a part of our church family, and she just wrote some things, some bullet points. She said this: in January, a colleague of hers walked a graduate student over to counseling services. As the student said to the person they met with, "I feel like harming myself or someone else." And then the person doing the intake said, you won't be able to see a counselor for 3 months. A student in our program, this faculty member told me, took their life over Christmas break, last Christmas. She had 12 students in a particular class, 12 graduate students. She said over the course of last semester, the spring semester, 4 different ones of these 12, at some point came in her office and sat down and said they had feelings of severe depression, anxiety, and felt like they couldn't continue in the program. She said, I've created a list of help and providers in our community so that they might be able to get help sooner. When Jesus says, love one another, and when you and I apply the story of Ruth helping a vulnerable Naomi, when you apply that story to your life, we have no other choice but to help, to bring hope, to do everything we can. And this situation is not unique at NAU. In her program, it is 1 in 3 that need help. And that's true at every campus all over the country. And I know that NAU is doing everything they can. I'm not trying to make a comment about them. I'm just saying there is a vulnerable group of people that are here. And we get to choose, are we going to be annoyed by them or are we going to serve them as a mission field? I'm amazed to see and hear over and over again about the individual efforts being made by staff and faculty, by administration, not just at NAU, in our high schools, because these issues are happening younger and younger. People are doing amazing things. They're being heroes to care for a vulnerable student in crisis. And I often think, what if that was my son? What if this is my daughter? Your grandson, your granddaughter, your siblings. Friends, we are compelled to help. And we need to move, and we are moving what God's calling us to do closer to campus. So last week, a student from NAU came, brand new freshman, and I knew she was freshman because she rode her bike here. And she rode her bike here last Sunday morning, and she wanted to connect, and her parents told her she had to go to church as soon as she came to Flagstaff. And here's what I know. She's not going to keep riding her bike here. Nothing against her, right? It's going to snow. There are going to be cinders all over the roads. She can't, and if she kept riding her bike here, she's like the most dedicated freshman ever in the history of freshmen. And she kept doing that all winter long. She can't bring any of her friends. I mean, one friend could fit on her handlebars, and that's it. And this student and her friends, they need help. They need hope. They need a place to find and connect with Jesus. And so the third way that we're going to help vulnerable people is that we're moving. We actually have purchased a ministry center next door to NAU. This picture I showed you, if you were here last week, I gave you like a little teaser announcement. This is on the corner of San Francisco and Franklin. And for many years, Chi Alpha, it's a Christian ministry, does amazing things, Bible studies and worship services, and helps so many students over the years. They've been using this facility. That's our staff Wednesday praying there. I'm the good-looking one in the back. You might recognize me. We were just there, and we were praying for this community of vulnerable students. And you see this aerial shot, and you see NAU. That's the aquatic center and tennis courts are right behind it. It's just this one building on this one corner. Because we're not going to be able to solve all the problems. We're not starting a counseling center. We're just going to keep preaching the gospel there and connecting students and showing them love. And we had this very short window of opportunity. The reason you haven't heard about this is because it was literally just a few weeks ago. Someone said, hey, that building's for sale. And the gospel's been preached there for decades. Is that something you might be interested in? And we started asking questions, and in literally just like 4 days, we had to make a decision. Because you can imagine that more than one developer saw a property with lots of profit potential for housing or to tear it down and build apartments. And what our board of elders decided in just a couple of days is that with the 20,000 students that attend classes on that campus need more than more overpriced housing, is a place to hear about Jesus, a place to find him. And we don't know what's going to happen there. We didn't even have time to develop the plan or what the business model looks like. We said, God, we need to do this. We called our financing partners, it's Christian Development Fund, and so we have to do all this, and it moves so fast. And God orchestrated it perfectly. Because we have to go to bring hope. And we know this building will be a place where students find connections, they find health, they find Jesus. Maybe they just find a place to hang out where they have alternatives to all the other choices that are in front of them. And they find an answer to the crisis that they're facing. See, 11928 is an event. But friends, it's a mindset. And it's our strategy to help students, to help them on the university, the parents and teenagers and grandparents and people who are single and those of us who are married and trying to figure all of that life out, every single one of us. It is a mindset to help one another follow Jesus. We're starting a rooted group on campus in just a couple of weeks. I mean, if you're a student or you live down there, you can get that information. See, we have to take action. We have to bring hope. And God has moved us towards action with our entire our property here and what we're doing with foster families and this opportunity to show students God's love. See, the thing I found in common in all heroes is I really thought about it. What is it that makes someone a hero? What is it that all heroes have in common? And the only thing I can find, but I find it in every single one, is that a hero is a person who takes action. A hero is you never call someone a hero because they thought of it, or they saw it and they felt bad, or it moved them emotionally. See, heroes are the people who take action. And we have heroes among us, and we can be heroes. But we have to take action. Jesus is the ultimate hero. And it really isn't about us, it's truly about him, and he has taken all the important actions first. You are part of a church who is a group of Jesus followers who are action takers. We're going to build a community center as a gift to Northern Arizona, to be a blessing. That's what God's calling us to do. We're going to continue to recruit and support foster families so that vulnerable children in our community have a loving home. And we've purchased, and we're going to utilize this community center, this ministry center adjacent to NAU. And I want you to be a part of this. Every single one of us. And you can be heroes in all of these grand things. You can be heroes in very, very immediate things. It may not feel like it, but when you sign up, these are just 3 things you can do to be a hero right now. When you sign up for Love 928, you're going to be a hero at one place in one morning or 2 mornings, or all weekend in Prescott at UCYC, however you want to do it. But you got to take the action. You got to get involved. Here's the second thing. I would ask you to pray for this new opportunity at NAU. Friends, we didn't have time to figure out what to do with this place. Like it had to move so fast, and the decision was so important. We didn't have this on our radar. It's not on our budget. So we have no idea how we're going to pay for this. And we don't have a plan. We just have an opportunity that we knew we had to take. So pray for wisdom, because we will have a plan. And we will develop some magical place to find the budget. We'll talk about that later. Right? But we're going to have teams of volunteers. There's going to be things we can all do to be involved, to love and care for students. And you can give to what we're doing at Love 928. You can be a hero by giving financially to the special offering that's going on all this month for September. We know the projects of Love 928, not the campus center, not that new thing. That's coming later. We got to figure that out. But right now, what's in front of us, these 40 locations, the cost in total of those locations is about $20,000 for the projects. We don't want to show up and say, hey, did you buy the paint? We want to show up with everything that's needed and provide that. And the only way we can do that is if our special offering will pay for that. And there's ways you can participate in that. You see that on the screen. We can help you with that. But you can be a hero when you sign up to serve, beginning to pray and talk about how you can give financially. Maybe you've never given, and it's like skip Dutch Bros once a week, and a little bit will make a difference. We're going to finish by singing this song. And it's a song about God's blessings, and it's this picture of a fountain, and it's this fount of many blessings, this great, like really amazing song. And it has this line in it that says that, and it references this idea. It says, raise an Ebenezer. And the first time I heard that, I was a kid in our church, and I was like, are we going to pick Scrooge up? What does that mean? And it's a reference to a story in the Hebrew writings, in Samuel, a prophet. He builds a rock monument to an event where God helped and he showed up. And he names the monument Ebenezer. It's that Hebrew word, that word means God helps. And that's what we're doing. Because God's helped us. We're building monuments to God helping. We're building structures. We're moving closer. We're building families to take care of vulnerable kids. We're raising up the banner that God helps. It's a beautiful song that points to He helps us and He's blessed us. And we want to do everything we can, that our future is about helping the people He's put around us. Would you stand and sing this out and declare that the God that helps us is going to call us to help those around us?